we're going to try and create a discrete strategy for everything that's in your budget of how to get money for that particular strategy. Every strategy is going to have a fundraising budget of some sort. So one of your strategies to accomplish your work is, let's say, to have an office, particularly the big ones, like EFI in Sri Lanka, where they've got hundreds of employees. You're going to have an office. Well, that office is a strategy. And you're going to have to fundraise for that office. You got to pay the rent, right? You've got to pay the upkeep. You got to buy it if you have to buy it. Some countries, the only way you can have an office is if you buy them. The landlords won't rent to you because you're Christians, that kind of thing. Everything, even the most minute details of your strategies are going to have a specific letter of inquiry that you can create. I used to teach it that it would be in a book. Now it'll be in a website, but I also like a physical book, but that's because I'm of my age. I like to still read and hold something when I'm reading it. I'm one of those, I'm sure when I pass from this scene, reading will be done with in some way or another, but in any case. So every one of your strategies should have a one-page paper. And these are the 7 things that I believe should be on that page. It'll be a project. How does this project figure into your 7 outcomes? And the 7 outcomes that I'm referring to here are what is referred to as the National Alliance Health Indicators. Those are your 7 outcomes. And so we're going to be working from those all the way through. So back to the letters of inquiry page. So every one of the projects will have a paragraph that explains it. And that also shows which of the 7 categories or which multiples of the 7 categories that strategy supports. Because we're really going to be doing the next paragraph, and these are all short, tightly written paragraphs, is the reason. Why are we doing it? Essentially, why should anybody read this LOI? The third is budget. To a grant maker and a giver that has any experience in granting, particularly those that make larger grants and are, not a typical monthly supporter that gives you $5 or $10 a month. But they're going to want to, budgets tell me stories. And what's the first story that a budget tells me? It tells me what you find important, because it's where you're putting your money. So I look at how you allocate funds, and that always tells me what you're going to do when the chips are down. What do you do when there's no money? What do you do when you're under hard times? What are the core essentials of your work? That's going to show up in your priorities and in your budgets, what I call groceries. And quite often ministries, and I can name a very prominent one right now, that is chasing dollars from a major foundation here in the United States for a program, and they're being driven by the donor and the donor's requirements for the program rather than what are the best requirements for the program. I'm intimately familiar with this one, and it's concurrent right now. And the budget tells me that, but it's a summary budget. It's not a detailed budget, and it includes income to date. So let's say it's a budget to put on a training seminar, and that training seminar is going to cost you $10,000. And that's going to be one of your strategies. The training seminar is to teach fundraising to a cohort of NGOs in your country, let's say. So that's the project. And why is it important? They need to do local funding. So that's your second paragraph. The budget's going to show that how you're spending the $10,000 on hospitality, travel, renting a hall, developing curriculum materials, whatever is in there, you're going to have there, personnel. But it's also going to show how much money have you raised towards that. So let's say you already have $3,000. So then the remaining budget is $7,000, and I'll explain why that's important to know. And then the time frame. How long is this project going? When will the project start? Something like that. And then a key contact. Who's managing the project? Every project you have, every one of these pages needs somebody that's responsible for the page and keeps it updated and is the contact person for whatever that LOI is. It could be one person manages every one of the LOIs in your office and their name is on here, or it could be different people. And we'll get to that when we get to feedback loops, which is, as you see there, feedback loop is a plan, do, measure, change in an oval. So you start with plan, you do some work. That's the second step. Third step, you stop, you evaluate how you've done. You change what you need to change because your evaluation shows you missed it in some way or another, or you're really strong in this area and you begin to pursue stronger there. And then you start the whole process over again. The key to a feedback loop is having somebody responsible. They're useless as a piece of paperwork. They only become useful when someone is responsible for making sure that the plan, do, measure, change process is scheduled and worked on. In fact, I think you should have staff meetings with your feedback loops. It's the perfect way to do staff meetings in my way. And then a piece of evocative art. This is just to make the page look a little interesting. If you're doing a training session, an evocative piece of art is not a photograph of 45 people standing on the stairs of an august looking building. It's somebody that's going to be affected by the training, perhaps. It's some kind of picture that draws you in and makes you feel active and makes you want to read the rest of the page. That's what art does. Think about a newspaper. You see a photograph, then you read the headline. That's more of what I'm talking about here.